I typed out a paragraph to my boy Devin just now, 11 lines, perfectly structured. Every single feeling accounted for, every contradiction acknowledged before he could even use it against me. I read it back twice, edited it once, and then I held backspace for 6 seconds and watched the whole thing dissolve into nothing. Replaced it with, "Nah, I'm good, bro." 2 hours of emotional processing compressed into 4 words that mean absolutely nothing. And the thing is, I wasn't even mad at him. He asked me a real question. "You been off lately, what's going on?" That's it, that's all he said. And I am sitting here right now on this wooden bench at the edge of the tree line, chest still burning from riding up this hill, staring at my phone and writing a confession I am never going to send. Because somewhere between the first sentence and the last, I realized what I was actually doing. I was auditioning. I was building a case for why I deserve to be understood. And the fact that I had to build a case at all made me delete the whole thing. Here's what nobody talks about. That silence you keep calling peace, that flat, one-word energy you perform when someone gets too close to asking a real question. It's not self-protection. It's a preemptive rejection. You're withdrawing your case before the jury even sits down, and you're calling that withdrawal dignity. I do this every single day. Someone at the kitchen table, my mom, my dad, Emma, they ask something that edges toward the center of what I'm actually feeling, and I just deflect. Short answer, dry joke, redirect. Not because I don't have more to say. I have entire essays loaded up behind my teeth at all times. But every full sentence feels like a concession of power. Like the moment you explain yourself to someone, you've handed them a weapon. You've given them the exact coordinates to the thing that can hurt you. But that's the flattering version of the story, isn't it? That's the one where I'm the guarded genius with too much depth for casual conversation. The real version is uglier. The real version is that I don't explain myself because I'm terrified of what happens when the explanation lands and the other person just doesn't care that much. Not in a cruel way, in an, "Oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense" way. The shrug, the polite nod, the supportive but completely unmoved response that tells you everything you just poured out was ordinary, completely ordinary. And if my pain is ordinary, then what exactly have I been protecting all this time? What was so precious about this silence that I built an entire personality around it? The lie sounds like maturity. That's why it works so well. I shouldn't have to explain myself. If they really knew me, they'd get it without me spelling it out. I'm just not the type to overshare. These all sound like the words of someone who has their emotional life handled, someone evolved, someone above the mess. And I've been repeating them to myself for so long, they've become architecture. They're not thoughts anymore, they're walls. Last month, my mom asked me why I've been so quiet at dinner. Not in an accusatory way. She does that thing where she's loading the dishwasher and drops it in casually, like it's nothing. "You've barely said 10 words all week, Michael." And I had this whole answer about the commute wearing me down, about feeling like my semester is a hamster wheel, about sitting in lectures surrounded by 200 people and feeling like I'm watching everything through plexiglass. I had all of it ready, but what came out was, "I'm just tired." And she nodded, and that was it. And I stood there, hating that she believed me so easily, while also being deeply relieved that she did. That's the lie in action. You set up a test you've rigged to fail. You give someone the easy answer, and when they accept it, you use their acceptance as proof that nobody really wants the hard one. Or here's another one. Group chat with the boys. Someone posts something funny, we all riff for a while, and then Jay says something that's actually a little off. Some joke about how I've been MIA. And for a second, there's a window. A window where I could say, Yeah, I've actually been going through it. Just that, just one honest sentence. But instead, I send a meme, something deflective and sharp enough to redirect the whole thread. Because vulnerability in a group chat is a death sentence. You send something real and the chat goes quiet for 45 seconds, and those 45 seconds feel like a public execution. So I keep it light, I keep it funny, I keep it absolutely hollow. And then I lock my phone, drop it onto the dirt next to my bike tire, and stare down at the suburban grid in the valley, wondering why I feel like nobody actually knows me. The math isn't mathing, but I'm the one rigging the equation. The cost isn't dramatic, that's the thing. Nobody stages an intervention for this. There's no rock bottom. It's just erosion. Slow, silent, invisible erosion. You wake up one day and realize you haven't said a true thing to another human being in weeks. Not one honest sentence. Every interaction has been managed, curated, pre-screened by the version of you whose only job is to make sure nothing lands too hard. Every morning I sit on the train to campus, earbuds in, and I rehearse conversations I'm never going to have. Full arguments, confessions, monologues where I finally tell my dad that his silence at the dinner table taught me silence was the only safe option. I run these scenes on loop in my head. I workshop them like scripts. And by the time I get back to the house, I've emotionally exhausted myself on a conversation that never even happened. I walk through the front door and I'm already spent. Not from the commute, from the ghost dialogue. And the worst part is what it does to your identity. Emma will be sitting on the couch when I walk in, and I know she can see something is off. She's always been like that. But I just keep walking. I grab a water from the fridge, give her a tight nod, and head straight up the stairs to my room. Because stopping in the living room means being still. And being still means being available. And being available means someone might ask me something I'd have to actually answer. So I close my bedroom door. I put the headset on. I block it all out. So you'd think at some point the pattern would break. You'd think there would be a moment clear enough, painful enough to make you just stop. Just open your mouth and say the real thing. And honestly, those moments do come. They come all the time. That's the trap. There was a night about 3 weeks ago. I had ridden up to this exact same bench. Everyone else was probably asleep down there in the valley, and I was sitting here in the dark, the air smelling like hot pine needles and dirt. And I opened my notes app, and I wrote something that scared me. I wrote about how I think I've been performing a version of myself for so long that I've lost access to the original file, like it got corrupted, or saved over, or just deleted from the system and I never noticed. And I almost sent it, not to Devin, not to the group chat, to my dad, of all people, because some part of me understood that the silence I learned in that house, at that table, from him. And I thought, just for a second, maybe if I showed him the blueprint of the thing he accidentally built in me, something would shift, some wall would come down. But then I reread it, and I started editing, tightening the sentences, making it sound smarter, more detached, more like an observation about myself than a plea for connection. And by the time I was done editing, the raw thing was gone. I'd polished it into something safe, something that could be dismissed as philosophical instead of desperate. And I saved it in a folder called Drafts that has 37 entries and 0 sent messages. That's the relapse. You don't go back to silence because it feels good. You go back because the alternative, being fully seen and finding out that what they see isn't enough, is a verdict you cannot survive. I'm not going to sit here and tell you to just be vulnerable. That's not it. That's a bumper sticker. And I'm not going to pretend I've figured this out because I'm literally the guy with 37 unsent notes on his phone and a group chat full of memes where feelings should be. But here's what I've started to notice. And it's small, and it's not a fix, it's just a crack in the logic. The silence doesn't actually protect you from judgment. It just delays it. And in the delay, you judge yourself worse than anyone else ever could. You become your own harshest jury. You sit in that deliberation room alone, running every possible verdict. And you always convict yourself before anyone else gets the chance. So maybe the shift isn't start explaining yourself. Maybe it's something smaller. Maybe it's just noticing the moment you reach for the backspace key. Not stopping yourself, just noticing. Watching yourself delete the real thing and replace it with the safe thing. And asking, quietly, without pressure, what exactly are you saving yourself from? Because when I'm honest about that question, really honest, the answer is never, I'm saving myself from being misunderstood. The answer is always, I'm saving myself from being fully understood and finding out that it doesn't change anything. And that's a different fear entirely. That's not a wall you built for protection. That's a wall you built because you think what's behind it isn't worth the effort of someone climbing over. The sky's almost gone now. Just a thin line of copper light sitting on the edge of the suburbs down there, the rest of it bruising into deep blue. I can see the grid of streetlights clicking on, one by one, tiny and automatic, and somewhere in that grid is our house, and inside that house are 3 people I share walls with, and almost nothing else. I cap my water bottle, slow, deliberate, like it matters. I look down at my phone sitting dark on the bench next to me, and for a second, I think about opening it, opening the Notes app, opening the Drafts folder, but I just pick up the bottle instead, slide it into the cage on my bike frame, wipe my hands on my shorts. 37 drafts, 37 perfect explanations of who I am and what I need, and the only person who's ever read any of them is me. I swing my leg over the bike, point it downhill, toward the grid, toward the house, toward the silence I already know I'll walk back into. And I don't even know if I'm choosing it anymore, or if it's just choosing me.